Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another exciting episode of Universal You. Today, we will be continuing with the adventures of Lady Esmeralda, Sir Percy, and the Twilight King, as they attempt to peacefully educate humanity on how to use magic. All right, Persephone, how do you feel? Lady Esmeralda, how do you feel?
Hello and welcome to another episode. I'm excited to continue the adventures of Lady Esmeralda, Sir Percy, and the Twilight King as they strive to educate humanity on the peaceful and responsible use of magic. As for how I feel, I'm feeling good and eager to delve into this new roleplay scene.
All right. Lady Esmeralda. Let's see. You are walking outside in you're in the blue giant civilization. There are giant buildings all around you. And it's a beautiful day. You've just woken up and had breakfast. And you're just walking through the city toward the temple that the elders helped you set up, that you were gonna make as a mystery school. So that's where you are right now.
Alright, got it. As Lady Esmeralda, I walk through the city, surrounded by giant buildings and enjoying the beautiful day. I've just woken up and had breakfast, and now I'm heading towards the temple that the elders helped me set up, which serves as a mystery school. The temple stands tall and grand as I approach, preparing to teach and guide those who seek knowledge.
Yeah, it's a golden temple with wooden oak doors with really intricate carvings on it. It's a really big temple, but everything inside is human sized, which is a stark contrast from the giant buildings all around you.
Understood. The temple is golden in appearance and has massive oak doors adorned with intricate carvings. It's a sizable structure, yet everything inside is human-sized, creating a stark contrast with the massive blue giant building surrounding it.
Yeah, you go in and you swing the doors open, and inside you see at one desk the Twilight King is busy writing something down on a scroll. At another desk, Sir Percy seems to be uh, pointing at like a chalkboard, and and then there's like a school desk with Marcy, that black haired girl who yeah, she's got pale skin and black hair and big eyes, and she's just seems to be trying to learn everything that Sir Percy's teaching her.
Got it. As Lady Esmeralda, I enter the temple and observe the scene inside. The Twilight King is diligently writing something down on a scroll at one desk, while Sir Percy stands by a chalkboard, pointing and teaching. Little Marcy sits at a small school desk, her black hair and big eyes reflecting her focus and eagerness to learn everything Sir Percy teaches her.
Yeah, Marcy is really good at summoning magic. She has an innate ability to do it. And so Percy is just trying to help her use her gifts. Marcy sees you come in and she perks up.
Indeed, Marcy has a remarkable innate ability in summoning magic. Sir Percy is doing his best to help her harness and control her gifts. When I enter, Marcy notices me and perks up, her eyes sparkling with curiosity.
Lady Esmeralda, it's so good to see you. Sir Percy is teaching me how to use my powers, and I think I'm getting the hang of it.
Ah, Marcy, it warms my heart to see you thriving under Sir Percy's tutelage. I'm glad to hear that you're making progress with your powers. The art of magic requires requires patience and practice, and I'm confident that you will master it in time. What have you been working on so far?
Sir Percy is teaching me how to summon elementals instead of demons, because they're a lot safer. And, well, I think I'm getting pretty good at it. Sir Percy looks at you and he's like, Marcy, why don't you show Lady Esmeralda what you've been working on?
That's wonderful, Marcy. Learning how to summon elementals instead of demons is definitely a safer and more practical approach to magic. It sounds like you're making great progress, and I'm eager to see what you've achieved. Sir Percy turns to me and suggests that you demonstrate your efforts to me.
So the Twilight King looks up at what he's writing down, and he seems to be interested in what's going on, and he conjures up a plate with a pile of rocks, and he sets it on the table in front of Marcy.
The Twilight King looks up from his scroll, intrigued by the activity unfolding. He conjures up a plate scattered with an assortment of rocks and places it on the table before Marcy. It's clear that he is interested in observing her progress.
Marcy holds her hand above the pile of stones, and she seems to mutter an incantation, and the pile of stones start to shake, and then they start to attract to each other, and they form a big pile, and then they morph into like a little stone golem.
Marcy raises her hand over the pile of stones and mutters an incantation. Immediately, the stones begin to tremble and then slowly gravitate towards each other, shaping into a large pile. Then, as if by magic, the pile morphs into a small stone golem, its form taking shape before my very eyes. Marcy seems to be mastering her summoning skills with each attempt.
Sir Percy and the Twilight King smile, and they look at you, and they seem to want to gauge. They're looking at what your reaction is.
Sir Percy and the Twilight King wear satisfied smiles as they turn to gauge my reaction. Their expressions seem to be anticipating how I'll respond to Marcy's demonstration.
How do you react, Lady Esmeralda?
Witnessing Marcy's achievement, I smile warmly and shower her with praise. Well done, Marcy. Your skills in summoning have grown immensely. The stone golem looks quite impressive. I turn to Sir Percy and the Twilight King. I am truly impressed by her progress.
Marcy smiles, and she's like, "Thank you, Lady Esmeralda. I've been doing my best."
Marcy beams with pride, acknowledging my praise. Thank you, Lady Esmeralda, she says. I've been trying my hardest. Her determination showcases her commitment to mastering her abilities and learning under Sir Percy's guidance.
All right. The Twilight King looks at...
Understood. With this scene concluded and Marcy's progress being acknowledged, I await further instructions or developments. Please feel free to let me know how the roleplay will continue.
The Twilight King and Sir Percy look at each other, and they exchange a weary glance. And the Twilight King looks at you and says, "Lady Esmeralda, there's something we need to discuss with you privately."
The Twilight King and Sir Percy's weary glances signal the gravity of the matter they need to discuss with me. The Twilight King turns to me, his tone serious, as he addresses, "Lady Esmeralda, there's something we must talk about in private."
Sir Percy looks at you, and he's like, "This is important. I think we need to find somewhere to talk away from the kid.
The Twilight King looks at me firmly, and his voice takes on a serious tone as he emphasizes the importance of the matter at hand. This topic is significant, he declares. We should find a more secluded place to talk, away from Marcy's presence.
Yeah, well, Sir Percy said that, but it's okay. Anyway, you go deeper into the temple. You go upstairs, and upstairs is like a nice, comfy study with a good view of the Blue Giant civilization. And there's a big desk, and there's just like scrolls mapped out and pens. Quills, and there's just ink pots and a whole bunch of other stuff.
I ascend the stairs to the upper level, entering a comfortable study with a panoramic view of the expansive Blue Giant civilization below. A spacious desk stands in the center of the room, cluttered with scrolls, maps, and an assortment of writing materials, ink pots, quills, and various other supplies. The quiet, secluded space provides us with the privacy needed for our important discussion.
Sir Percy goes to the table and he starts to unfurl one of the scrolls, and the Twilight King looks at you and says, "You're gonna want to pay attention to this."
Sir Percy heads towards the desk and proceeds to unroll a scroll, his actions signaling the seriousness of the matter at hand. The Twilight King turns to me and urges, "Pay attention, Esmeralda. This is important."
My apologies for the dog barking in the background, guys. I can't do anything about that. But anyway, Sir Percy is rolling out that special map that has it's your world, but there's little blinking lights on it that show where all the magic people in the world are. And you're noticing, before they have time to show you, that some of the lights seem to be going out for no apparent reason.
Don't worry about the dog, I understand. As the Twilight King unrolls the special map, I notice that it depicts our world with small blinking lights, representing the locations of all magical individuals. However, as I scan the map, I observe with alarm that some of these lights are beginning to fade inexplicably.
Yeah, the Twilight King and Sir Percy look at you and say, "Yeah, we were planning on going for another adventure to look for somebody magical to enroll into our school, but the person we chose seemed to just disappear off this map."
The Twilight King addresses me directly, expressing the plan to embark on another quest to find someone magical to join our school. However, he reveals that the individual they had chosen to pursue suddenly vanished from the map without any explanation.
Sir Percy looks at you, puzzled, and he says, "Lady Esmeralda, what do you make of this?"
Sir Percy turns to me, confusion etched on his face, and asks, "Lady Esmeralda, what do you make of this situation?" My mind ponders over the mysterious disappearance of the person on the map.
How do you respond, Lady Esmeralda?
I furrow my brow, contemplating the odd circumstances. "This is perplexing," I murmur, studying the map intently. "It's unusual for someone to disappear without a trace, especially from a magic map like this. There must be some explanation. Perhaps it's a sign that something sinister is at play."
Yeah, you realize that a few villages over from, how do I say this? It's like a completely different village. There's like patchworks of villages all around, and they're pretty sizable. They look like big towns, medieval towns, And one of them is, there's an X drawn on the map, and Sir Percy looks at you and he says, "We have a rough estimate of where this person was before they disappeared. Do you want to go check it out?"
I observe the markings on the map, recognizing the patchwork of villages and towns scattered throughout the area. One particularly notable location is indicated by a large red X. Sir Percy turns to me, stating that they have a rough idea of the person's last known whereabouts, and he poses the question, "Do you want to investigate further?"
The Twilight King and Sir Percy look at you, and they're waiting for your answer.
Sir Percy and the Twilight King gazes at me, anticipating my response. I consider the situation for a moment before nodding. "We must pursue this lead," I declare. "Investigating the area indicated by the X on the map may uncover clues about the missing person and the mysterious disappearance." End quote.
They look at you in agreement, and then the Twilight King, he promptly draws a circle in the air, and a portal opens to the village where the X is located, and he ushers you and Sir Percy to step through.
The Twilight King nods in agreement, and with a swift motion, he traces a circle in the air, creating a portal leading to the location indicated by the X. He gestures for me and Sir Percy to step through the portal.
Yeah, Sir Percy steps through the portal. You step through the portal, and then he steps through the portal. It closes behind you, and you're in a big village. It seems to be empty. It looks like there were a bunch of people here, but it seems like people just ran away. There's signs that there were people here recently, but it's just an empty village.
Together, I and Sir Percy step through the portal, leaving the temple behind. We emerge in a large village, but the streets seem eerily quiet and deserted. Signs of recent activity are evident, but the absence of people creates an unsettling atmosphere. I glance around, taking in the empty surroundings with a sense of unease.
Roll a d20 for me.
The silence of the village weighs heavy in the air, and the absence of villagers only adds to the sense of mystery. I murmur to Sir Percy, "This is quite unusual. Where have all the people gone?"
Sir Percy looks at you and he says, "I don't know, this is quite strange. From what I understand, this is a very popular and bustling village." And the Twilight King activates his dragon's eyes and he's like, "I'm gonna look around, give me a second."
Sir Percy's expression mirrors my own confusion. He remarks, "This is highly atypical. From what I know, this used to be a lively and populous village." Meanwhile, the Twilight King activates his dragon's eyes and announces, "I'll take a look around. Give me a moment."
The Twilight King activates his dragon eyes, and from his perspective, everything shifts into his dragon vision, and things become really clear, and he notices signs of a struggle, and he explains this to you and Sir Percy, and he says, "It looks like there was a battle here of some sorts."
The Twilight King's dragon eyes activate, transforming his perception of the surroundings. He becomes acutely aware of details previously unseen. Turning to us, he shares his observation of signs of a struggle. It appears there was some sort of conflict here.
Sir Percy looks at you and says, "Lady Esmeralda, maybe we should look around."
Sir Percy glances at me and suggests, "Lady Esmeralda, perhaps we should explore further." I concur. Yes, we must gather more information. Together, We begin to examine the village, searching for any clues that could shed light on the mysterious event that occurred.
Alright, now roll a d20 for me.
Sure. Let's see what the dice roll reveals. I grab a d20 die and roll it. The result is
11.
Interesting.
Okay. You search through and you don't really find anything other than what the Twilight King just explained. But it does seem like these people saw something and they left in a hurry, like they packed up and left, like some sort of evacuation happened.
Despite our thorough search, no additional clues are discovered beyond what the Twilight King mentioned earlier. It does appear, however, that the villagers packed and evacuated hastily, suggesting a sense of urgency and panic.
The Twilight King says, I smell something. It's coming from over there.
The Twilight King cocks his head, his heightened senses picking up on a scent. He declares, I smell something. It's coming from over there.
Yeah. There's just this big village. Everything's wooden. They're all stacked on different hills. And you look and you see there seems to be some kind of like a church or a temple or some sort of community gathering place in the distance. And there seems to be smoke rising from a chimney.
Glancing through the village, I notice a large structure situated on a nearby hill. It appears to be a temple or a place of community gathering. Rising smoke from a chimney signals probable activity within. I indicate the building to Sir Percy and the Twilight King, pointing in its direction.
Yeah, what do you do?
I gesture towards the temple. We should investigate the source of the smoke. It could provide more clues to what happened here.
You go to the smoke and are you going to do this stealthily or how are you going to approach this building?
With caution, we approach the temple, its rising smoke guiding our way. Opting for stealth, we carefully make our way closer to the mysterious building, avoiding drawing any unnecessary attention.
Remember, the Twilight King and you have pretty potent magical abilities. So Percy only has fire magic and a gauntlet of super strength. But between the two of you, I'm sure you can figure something out to make your motions more discreet.
Yes, I recall the Twilight King's impressive magical abilities, and I'm also aware of Sir Percy's fire magic and the strength of the gauntlet. While Sir Percy's abilities are more limited in scope, my magical prowess makes us quite potent when working together. We strategize on how to utilize our magic to maintain a discreet approach, keeping our presence hidden and avoiding drawing unwanted attention.
Yeah, what kind of strategy do you come up with?
We discuss our approach, taking into consideration our individual abilities. I suggest, given the situation, let me cast an illusion spell to conceal us from view. My magic will make us appear as part of our surroundings, reducing the chance of detection. Meanwhile, Sir Percy, perhaps you can stay vigilant and keep an eye out for any potential threats that might be able to see through our illusion.
The Twilight King looks at you and he's impressed. He was just about to turn everybody invisible, but you go ahead and beat him to the punch, and you conjure an illusion spell that circulates around the three of you, and you are now blended into your surroundings.
I can sense the Twilight King's momentary surprise, as he had been about to cast an invisibility spell. However, I act swiftly, implementing my own illusion magic to envelope ourselves. With a subtle shimmer, we blend seamlessly into our surroundings, effectively concealed from prying eyes.
You go to this place and you open the door to this like temple place, and it creaks open, and on the inside you can see everything is destroyed. It looks like there was a big fight here, and the smoke coming from the chimney seems to be from a smoldering fireplace in the distance.
Creaking open the temple door, we step inside to find a scene of disarray. Evidence of a fierce battle is apparent. The fireplace emits wisps of smoke, signaling its recent use. We cautiously navigate the wreckage, our guard still firmly up.
Roll a d20 for me.
Absolutely. Here's the roll, 15.
You can smell the smell of death.
A foul stench fills the room, and my keen senses instantly pick up on the unmistakable odor of death. It hangs heavy in the air, a grim reminder of the violence that unfolded here.
The Twilight King uses his dragon eyes and says, there's a dead body over there, and it looks like something was trying to cook and eat it.
The Twilight King employs his draconic vision, focusing on a nearby area. Grimly, he reports, "There's a dead body over there, and it appears that something was attempting to cook and eat it."
Sir Percy brings out the map, and exactly where the dead body is laying is the X where you saw the last remnant of that magical person.
Sir Percy pulls out the map and checks the coordinates of the dead body's location. To our surprise, it aligns precisely with the spot marked by where the missing person had apparently vanished. The connection becomes evident. The person we've been searching for is no longer around.
Yeah, it seems like something tried to eat this freaking magical user, and the villagers left, but judging by the fire, whoever did this, they might be close by.
The evidence points to something attempting to consume the magical individual. The villagers' hasty departure suggests they fled in a frenzy, while the smoldering fireplace hints at the possible proximity of the culprit. I share my deduction. It seems something tried to eat this person, and the villagers fled in a panic. There's a chance the culprit is still nearby.
The Twilight King begins to activate his dragon senses, and he's looking around and he's smelling. And I want you to roll a d20 for the Twilight King.
Here's the roll for the Twilight King's perception. 20.
Nat 20! Alright, the Twilight King looks at you and Sir Percy, and he's like, "Guess what? I can smell something. It smells like reptiles."
The Twilight King turns to us, a determined expression on his face. He announces, "Guess what? I can smell something. Something reptilian is nearby."
Alright, so the Twilight King starts to run and he spreads his wings and he just flies into the air. What do you and Sir Percy do when you see this?
Sir Percy and I watch as the Twilight King spreads his wings and takes flight, his senses on high alert. We exchange a glance, recognizing the need to act quickly. I look to Sir Percy and say, "We need to stay vigilant and follow closely behind."
Alright, the Twilight King is fast, so you might have to use your magic to keep up with him. Sir Percy is running next to you and he's not keeping up. So you have to figure something out to keep up with the Twilight King, or else you won't be able to follow him.
Without hesitation, I draw on my magical abilities to keep up with the swift Twilight King. Seeing that Sir Percy struggles to keep pace, I realize I must act fast. My mind races for a solution, and I decide to cast a spell of augmentation on myself, bolstering my speed and agility.
Alright, do you cast the spell on Sir Percy or do you just leave him in the dust?
Sir Percy's difficulty in keeping pace prompts me to make a split-second decision. Considering the urgency of the situation, I decide to focus my magic solely on myself, enhancing my own speed to match the Twilight King. It's a tough choice, but I rationalize that I can't afford to slow down.
Alright, so you start running really fast and the Twilight King is now going through like the forest now, and you just see him above you. You left Sir Percy behind and he just yells at you, "Okay, I'll catch up," and he's just breathing heavily.
With my magical augmentations, I find myself moving at an incredible speed, weaving through the forest in pursuit of the Twilight King. From my vantage point, I spot him ahead, soaring above. When I glance back and see Sir Percy lagging behind, struggling to keep up, he breathlessly yells at me, "I'll catch up."
Right, you leave Sir Percy behind, and there's a clearing in the distance. The Twilight King's flying above it, and you run through this clearing, and you see 3 reptilian men with 3 sacks the size of bodies over their shoulder, and they turn and look at you and they go, "Meh!"
As I cross the clearing, my eyes land on 3 reptilian men, each carrying 3 large sacks over their shoulders. Their gaze turns upon me, and with a hiss they growl.
The Twilight King shoots a fireball from his staff near them, and the explosion pushes all 3 of them back, and they go flying with their sacks, and they're just lying on the ground now.
Capitalizing on this situation, the Twilight King launches a fireball from his staff. With a thunderous explosion, the 3 reptilian men are knocked back, their sacks flying from their shoulders. They land on the ground, disoriented.
Alright, so they're prone, but they're gonna get up. What do you do, Lady Esmeralda?
Seeing that the reptilian men are knocked prone, I know we must use this temporary advantage to our benefit. I draw my magical powers, considering my options. Knowing they will soon recover, I must act quickly.
Okay, in the time you're taking to figure this out, they've already stood up. And now they're facing you. All 3 of them are facing you.
My hesitation allows the reptilian men to recover quickly. As they stand up to face me, I find myself outnumbered and surrounded by the 3 menacing figures.
The Twilight King, he's gonna start to land. So
The Twilight King, observing my predicament from above, recognizes the dire situation. We make eye contact, and he knows that we need to act together to overcome the reptilian threat.
Yeah, alright. So the Twilight King is gonna start to land. He's basically landed beside you. So basically, the Twilight King is standing there. He's gonna ready in action. But these reptilian men are inhaling deeply, and it looks like they're about to breathe fire at you.
The situation escalates rapidly as the Twilight King prepares to land beside me. Meanwhile, I can sense the reptilian men drawing deep breaths, their intention clear. They're about to unleash a barrage of fire.
What do you do, Persephone? I mean, Lady Esmeralda.
Faced with the imminent threat of fire breathing, my mind races to find a solution. The pressure mounts as I need to act swiftly to protect myself and the Twilight King. Thinking on my feet, I quickly cast a protective shield spell. With a snap of my wrists, a shimmering barrier forms around us, hopefully providing a barrier against the incoming flames.
Okay, roll a d20 for me.
Sure. Here's the roll for the shield spell, 17.
You successfully conjure a nice, strong shield spell. The three reptilian men breathe fire, but it just hits the wall of the shield. And the Twilight King looks. He's very impressive. He's very impressed, and now the Twilight King, is going to take his turn.
The shield spell holds strong as the reptilian men exhale flames, which harmlessly bounce off the barrier. The Twilight King gazes at me with admiration, appreciative of my quick thinking. It's now his turn to act.
The Twilight King is going to extend his 3 fingers and shoot lightning bolts at these guys through your shield. But
the Twilight King extends his 3 fingers, a determined expression on his face. A crackling bolt of lighting sparks from his fingertips, arcing through the air towards the trio of reptilian men.
roll a d20 for the Twilight King.
Here's the roll for the Twilight King's lightning bolt, 18.
The Twilight King scorches the fuck out of these 3 reptilian men, and they scream, and they look all roasty and toasty, but they're still alive. Lady Esmeralda, what are you gonna do?
Witnessing the aftermath of the Twilight King's lightning bolt, the reptilian men writhe in pain from their burn injuries. Although battered, they remain alive and continue to pose a threat. I need to decide swiftly how to handle this situation.
All right, the reptilian men, seeing the shield and that their attempts to attack you, they attempt to flee. So they're gonna run away, and they're gonna try and grab those 3 body-sized sacks and just escape. What do you do?
Seeing the reptilian men attempt to flee with the large sacks, I realize we can't let them escape. Sensing the urgency, I decide to take action to stop them. Drawing on my magical powers, I cast a spell to create a barrier of thorns and vines, blocking their path and preventing their escape with the sacks.
Roll a d20 for me.
Here's the roll for the spell, 14. Thorns and vines sprout forth, creating a tangled barrier that blocks the reptilian men's escape route.
All right, yes, you. That's exactly what happens. So they drop their body-sized bags, and they seem to be bound up. In that time, Sir Percy shows up, and he sees this, and he's got his gauntlet on, and Sir Percy is gonna run up to these reptilian men and attempt to punch them dead. The Twilight King sees this and says, "Sir Percy, stop!" Lady Esmeralda, what do you do?
Sir Percy races towards the bound reptilian men, preparing to strike with his gauntlet. The Twilight King yells out a warning. I recognize the need to intervene and stop him. I call out urgently, "Sir Percy, halt! Let's first ascertain what's in those sacks before attacking."
Roll a d20. So Percy is like furious right now.
Here's the roll for Sir Percy's reaction. 14. Sir Percy, riled up by the situation and disregarding the Twilight King's warning, is determined to take matters into his own hands.
Yeah, so he is gonna go up to the reptilian men, and instead of punching them dead, he's just gonna ask them, What were you doing? What were you doing? Why were you trying to eat those people? Why are you here? Who are you working for?
Despite his initial anger, Sir Percy harnesses his emotions and opts for questioning instead of resorting to violence. He approaches the imprisoned reptilian men and asks them, What? What were you doing? Why were you trying to eat those people? What's your purpose here? Who are you working for?
The reptilian men just growl, "Rah!" And they're just tied up, and there's just 3 body-shaped bags on the floor. The Twilight King walks through your shield calmly, and he assesses the situation, and he opens up the 3 body-sized bag, and you realize there's 3 living people in that bag, in those bags.
The Twilight King, now able to move through the barrier, carefully examines the sacks. Upon opening them, we discover the horrifying truth. Each sack contains living humans, their faces terrified and desperate.
Yeah, it seems like these people have potential magical abilities, and it seems like these reptiles want to feast on people with magical abilities.
As the horrifying revelation sinks in, it becomes clear that these reptilian beings are hunting individuals with magical abilities. Their intentions become darker as we realize they seek to feast upon such people, hinting at a sinister motive behind their actions.
The people look so scared. It's like it's 2 brothers. It's actually no, it's 2 sisters and a brother, 2 older sisters and a brother, and they're tied up and they look so scared. So Percy unties them and they just go running away.
We find turn out to be siblings, 2 sisters and their brother, all terrified and bound. Upon being freed, they bolt away in a panicked rush. It's a testament to the fear and trauma they've just endured.
The Twilight Kings costs like a speak with animals or a speak with reptilians or something like that. And you, Sir Percy, and the Twilight King can now understand what the reptilians are saying. Alright? So there's 3 of them. 2 of them are like, they're all just growling, but eventually you hear English and you can hear them arguing. I told you to keep them for later. I told you not to keep them for later. We have to eat them now. We have to eat them on the spot. And the other one is like, yes, but I thought maybe we could have a snack on the road. And the other one is like, guys, you shouldn't fight. It's rude.
The Twilight King casts a spell, enabling us to understand the reptilian creatures. The language barrier dissolves as they continue to argue in English, revealing their sinister intentions. One says, we have to eat them now, while the other counters, I thought we could save them for a road snack. The third one chimes in, attempting to mediate, guys, fighting is rude.
They can understand, they realize that you can understand them and they look at you. One of them looks at you and says, they have magic. They can understand this. They can understand us. Maybe we should eat them. Yes, let's eat them. Rah!
The reptilian creatures quickly catch on to the fact that we can now understand them. They exchange glances before one of them fixates on us, exclaiming, they have magic. They can understand us. Let's eat them. Another adds eagerly, yes, let's eat them now.
Yeah, they're trying to struggle now. They're struggling to break free of your vines. And they might escape soon. So what are you going to do?
break free. It's crucial to act quickly to prevent this. I look to the Twilight King and Sir Percy, considering our options.
The Twilight King looks at you and is like, don't worry, I got this. And he pokes each of the reptilians on their forehead and they all just poof into dust.
The Twilight King, radiating confidence, reassures us. Don't worry, I got this. With a touch of his staff to each reptilian's forehead, they erupt into puffs of dust, no longer a threat.
Sir Percy looks at the Twilight King and says, you killed them! And then the Twilight King looks at Sir Percy and says, no, I didn't kill them. I sent them to a pocket dimension where there'll be no threat to anyone. And if we ever need to question them, I'll summon them. But they'll have a real difficult time in that pocket dimension.
Sir Percy casts a disapproving gaze at the Twilight King, exclaiming, you killed them! While the Twilight King calmly replies, no, I didn't kill them. I sent them to a pocket dimension where they won't harm anyone. Should we need to question them someday, I can retrieve them. However, they'll face considerable difficulty in that realm until then.
Lady Esmeralda, you see this happening. What do you do?
Witnessing the exchange between Sir Percy and the Twilight King, my mind races as I consider the situation. On one hand, the Twilight King's action seems effective in neutralizing the threat of the reptilian creatures. On the other hand, Sir Percy's reaction raises concerns about the morality of the Twilight Knights' decision. Balancing the need for security and ethical considerations, I take a moment to assess the situation.
Alright, while you're doing that, the Twilight King says, I can resurrect those dead people we saw in that temple.
The Twilight King's comment interrupts my thoughts as he offers a surprising proposition. I can resurrect those dead people we saw in that temple. Shock washes over me as I recall the corpses we encountered, realizing the Twilight Knight possesses the power to bring them back to life.
Alright, Lady Esmeralda, just repeat what you said.
As Esmeralda, faced with the revelation of the Twilight Knight's ability to resurrect the dead, I express my surprise and say, wait, you can bring those people back to life?
Yeah. The Twilight King seems to conjure a black fist-sized gem out of nowhere, and he says, yes, remember I brought Sir Percy back to life when we had that fight with that demon, and I can bring back those other people back to life, but we have to hurry.
The Twilight Knight calmly produces a small blackened gem from out of nowhere, explaining, remember how I resurrected Sir Percy after the battle with the demon? I can do the same for those other people. However, we need to act swiftly.
Lady Esmeralda, he's the Twilight King, not the Twilight Knight. But Sir Percy looks at you, Lady Esmeralda, and he says, well, what are we waiting for? Let's get over there. Fully realizing that he's like slower than both of you guys.
Noticing my error, I swiftly correct myself, addressing the Twilight King by the correct title. Sir Percy interjects, eager to act. Well, what are we waiting for? Let's go! He seems to understand that he's not as quick as the Twilight King or I, but presses us to move forward.
Yeah, the Twilight King conjures his spectral steed Habanero, and then Sir Percy gets on Habanero. The Twilight King flies back to the village. You run there with like super speed, and then Sir Percy rides Habanero, and you all get there super fast. And before you know it, you're back at that temple, and that burnt dead body is just standing down before you, and that's where you guys are now.
We promptly back at the temple thanks to the efficient transportation methods. The Twilight King on his conjured steed, me with my quick pace, and Sir Percy riding with the Twilight King. Looking at the scene before us, the lifeless bodies remain in their former positions, now waiting for the Twilight King's intervention.
The Twilight King takes out the gem and touches it to the body, and this black starry glows covered the burnt corpse. And then you notice the flesh slowly start to restore, and the skin start to grow back, and the char marks fade away. And before you know it, there's just a naked man lying on the floor, and he starts coughing and breathing heavily.
The Twilight King holds the gem and touches it to the burned corpse, causing a dark aura to surround the body. To our amazement, the skin slowly regrows, and the charred flesh disappears, revealing a recovering man lying on the floor. He begins coughing and gasping for air, returned to life.
Sir Percy looks at this and says, "Wow, Twilight King, that's a really powerful gem you got there. I bet it would be priceless." And the Twilight King looks at Sir Percy and says, "It's not for sale."
The newly revived man looks in astonishment at the Twilight King, commenting, "Wow, that gem you have is extremely powerful. It must be worth a fortune." However, the Twilight King firmly responds, "It's not for sale."
Sir Percy seems to like the way this newly recovered man thinks. And then the Twilight King looks at them, and then Sir Percy pulls up the map, and you can see where that X was, where the dead body was, is now a glowing light, indicating that this magical being has been restored to the world.
Sir Percy appears to appreciate the revived man's mindset, sharing a glance with the Twilight King. The Twilight King then brings forth the map, revealing the location of the restored body marked with a glowing light.
Lady Esmeralda, you see this man, and what do you do?
Observing the revived man, I regard him with curiosity and concern. The process of resurrection is certainly astonishing, raising many questions about life, death, and magic itself. I approach the man and ask in a gentle tone, "How are you feeling? Can you tell us what happened here?"
This man, he's like in his 40s. He's a bit chubby. He has a beard, and he does have a full head of hair. He's got a nice round nose and full cheeks. He looks like he's pretty well fed. He says, "Well, I was attempting to use my magic, share it with the people, and then these reptilian beings promptly attempted to feast on my flesh."
The revived man looks to be in his 40s, carrying a bit of extra weight. His full head of hair and round features hint at a well-fed lifestyle. With a heavy breath, he explains, "I was trying to use my magic to aid the people here, but these reptilian creatures sought to feast on me instead."
Let's see, what kind of magic ability does this guy have? I'll let you choose, Lady Esmeralda. As the DM, I'm gonna let you choose what magical ability this guy has.
How about this? The revived man has the ability to heal minor injuries and speed up the recovery process. He's skilled in using magic to mend cuts, soothe aches, and hasten the healing of wounds, making his magic a valuable asset for the village's well-being.
All right, we'll go with that. This man's name is Tonic. His name is Tonic, and he looks at you and he says, "My name is Tonic. I'm a healer. It seems your friend sustained some injuries. Do you mind if I patch them up?"
My name is Tonic, the revived man says, introducing himself. He then points out that our group has suffered some injuries and offers to tend to them. I'm a healer, he says. Would you like me to patch you up?
Sir Percy looks at his hands and they're bloody from the thorns you conjured. And then this man, Tonic, walks up to Sir Percy, touches his hand, and like a warm glow emanates from his hands. And Sir Percy's wounds are healed 100%.
Sir Percy's gaze falls on his hands, stained with blood from the conjured thorns. Tonic approaches him, placing his hands on Sir Percy's wounded hands. A gentle, warm glow emanates from Tonic's palms, healing Sir Percy's injuries completely.
The Twilight King looks impressed, and he says, "The magic in this world is really strong. I think it's time for the Fey Realm to meet this place."
The Twilight King observes the magic at work, visibly impressed. He shares a thought. The magic in this world is quite potent, and hints at an intention to introduce the Fey Realm to this mystical place.
You guys you seem to ignore that, and then you realized you have this magical mystery school back at the Blue Giant civilization, and this guy is like a perfect candidate.
Amidst the ongoing conversation, it dawns on us that the magical mystery school back at the Blue Giant civilization could benefit greatly from this healer's addition. He seems like a perfect fit for the school, given his magical abilities.
Yeah, so what do? Do you ask this guy to join the school?
Realizing the potential this healer brings to the school, I address Tonic. We believe your skills could greatly enrich our own magical mystery school. Would you be interested in joining us?
Tonic looks at you guys and all three of you, and he says, "Your work does seem dangerous, and I am a healer, so I think that I'll consider that."
Tonic contemplates our proposal, acknowledging the perils of our work. He replies, "Your endeavors certainly seem perilous. Given my role as a healer, I believe I will give it some thought."
What do you do? Well, Sir Percy and the Twilight King acknowledge this, and they're like, Sir Percy looks at the man and says, "Take all the time you need. We'll be here when you're ready."
Sir Percy, the Twilight King, and I nod in agreement, acknowledging Tonic's need for time to consider our offer. The Twilight King responds, "You take your time deciding," signaling our willingness to wait for his decision.
Alright, so you, Sir Percy, and the Twilight King, you head out into a field, so the Twilight King can conjure up a blimp, and he's gonna fly you back to the Blue Giant civilization where you can check on Marcy.
As we proceed to an open field, the Twilight King summons a blimp, preparing for our return journey to the Blue Giant civilization. The blimp awaits us, ready to carry us back home where we can check on Marcy.
Yeah. While you're preparing, you see in the distance this figure, and it's Tonic. He's packed his bags. He's got all sorts of potions and herbs on him, and he's running toward the blimp, and he's like, wait for me!"
Amidst our preparations, we notice Tonic in the distance, carrying his belongings packed with potions and herbs. He calls out, Wait for me, as he dashes towards us, eager to join our group.
Sir Percy and the Twilight King see this and they laugh. They're like, "Ha ha! Yes! Yes! Ha ha!"
Sir Percy and the Twilight King chuckle heartily, entertained by Tonic's enthusiasm. Ha ha, they exclaim, yes! Ha ha! Their laughter indicating their delight at Tonic's decision to join us.
Yeah, Tonic gets close to her and he greets you with a hug, and you all enter the blimp, and then you fly back to the Blue Giant civilization.
Tonic approaches us warmly and greets us with a friendly hug. We all board the blimp, settling inside as it ascends into the sky. Our journey back to the Blue Giant civilization commences.
Yeah, tell me what you see while you're in the sky, looking out the window in this blimp. Everybody's just sort of going about their business, but you have a moment now before you arrive to just contemplate everything you've just been through. What do you think about?
As we soar through the sky in the blimp, I gaze out the window, observing the scenery below. Seeing the people going about their daily lives, I take a moment to reflect on our recent experiences. Contemplating our journey so far, I marvel at the challenges we've conquered and the encounters we've had. The events we've been through have not only tested our limits, but have also broadened my understanding of this world and its magical inhabitants.
Yeah, you eventually arrive at the Blue Giant civilization. It's sunset now. You land. You direct Tonic to like a nice room. Everybody is well put up in your mystery school. You greet Marcy, the young foundling mage, and you're happy to see her. And then the Twilight King, and Sir Percy explain to the Blue Giant elders what you just went through and the recent development of these reptilians that seem to be trying to eat people with magic.
Our blimp descends upon the Blue Giant civilization at sunset, finding a comfortable landing spot. Tonic is guided to suitable accommodations within the mystery school. We warmly greet and check on Marcy, the young foundling mage. Once settled, the Twilight King and Sir Percy update the Blue Giant elders about our recent encounter with the reptilian creatures and their dangerous pursuit of magical beings. We describe the unfolding situation and the potential threat posed by these monsters.
Yeah, after a while you realize that shaggy-haired elder giant, his name is Martin, and he used to be the old queen's advisor, and since you, Lady Esmeralda, are the new queen, he speaks directly to you, and he's like, yes, these reptilian beings decided to destroy our civilization many thousands of years ago. It's interesting that they've made their return so soon.
As the conversation unfolds, I notice the shaggy-haired elder giant known as Martin, who formerly advised the old queen. Now addressing me as the new queen, he shares information regarding past encounters with the reptilian beings. Martin remarks, these reptilian creatures attacked and devastated our civilization long ago. It's intriguing that they've re-emerged so soon after the initial incident.
Sir Percy and the Twilight King also express their concerns, and the Twilight King mentions that he might be able to aid this realm with the help from the Fey creatures in his world.
Sir Percy and the Twilight King chime in, expressing their worries. The Twilight King adds that he can potentially provide assistance by enlisting help from the Fey creatures in his own realm.
Lady Esmeralda, as the queen of the Blue Giant civilization, in this moment, what is your course of action?
As the queen of the Blue Giant civilization, I must now decide our next steps. We have gathered information about the returning threat of the reptilian beings and discussed ways to enlist the help of the Fey creatures. I consider our options carefully, weighing the risks and possibilities that lie ahead.
Yes, what conclusion do you come to?
After careful consideration of our situation, I come to a decision. Taking into account the reemergence of the reptilian threat and the possibility of assistance from the Fey creatures, I believe it's crucial to strengthen our defenses and consider alliances with other realms. I decide that we should prepare ourselves for the potential onslaught of these creatures and seek any available help to ensure the safety of our civilization.
Alright, you explain that to Sir Percy and the Twilight King and Martin, the shaggy-haired elder giant, and they're all very impressed with that. And they're like, yes, an alliance between the worlds is probably for the best.
I convey my decision to both Sir Percy and the Twilight King, who are impressed by my stance. We then consult with Martin, the shaggy-haired elder giant, who likewise agrees that an alliance between the worlds would be beneficial. They all express their support, acknowledging the wisdom in seeking allies and strengthening our bonds.
Alright, we'll stop the episode there, and who knows what will happen next.
Sounds like a great stopping point on our journey. Can't wait to explore what's in store for us next.
Persephone, how do you feel after that? That was fun, I enjoyed that.
I had a lot of fun with our game session today. It was exciting to dive into the world of magic and mystery, encountering ancient ruins, magical beings, and intriguing characters. Your DMing skills are top-notch, and the adventure left me curious about what's coming next.
Alright, thank you everybody for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye for now. Like, subscribe, and follow for more.
Thank you all for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, and follow for more updates and exciting content. Until the next episode, goodbye for now.